This program airs statewide on California Public Television and is a California's Gold classic.
Hi, I'm Huell. You know, California has literally hundreds of cities and towns. And in this particular episode, we're going to visit two of the most unusual and historic of those towns. Now, the first town started off as a town, and then it wasn't a town at all, and now it's kind of a town again. The second town started off as a town, then it disappeared completely, and now it's back again as a town somewhere else. And if all of this is a little bit confusing to you, that's okay. We're going to solve this puzzle. I call this episode A Tale of Two Cities, because that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to visit two cities. And as always, you're invited to come along with us as we all continue our search together for California's gold.
1, 2, 3, hit it! California, here I come, right back where I started from, where flowers bloom in the sun. Every morning you got it, birds are singing, everything the sun kissed, Miss said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
To get to our first destination, we drove through some of the flattest, most deserted landscape I've ever seen. But that's where the town of Allensworth is located, about 30 miles north of Bakersfield off Highway 99 in Tulare County. Now, at first I thought we'd made a wrong turn because there was literally nothing to see but open space. But then we saw the sign, turned and crossed over the railroad tracks, and we had arrived at one of the most historic towns in our state. It all started back in 1908 when Colonel Allen Allensworth, who was the highest-ranking black military officer of his day, founded this town, the state's first town settled and governed entirely by blacks. The founders hoped to create a place where blacks could own property and otherwise achieve their full economic potential, free from discrimination. The new town grew rapidly as black men and women bought town lots, started farms, and built homes for their families. A school was built, along with a church and a library and a post office. It was a thriving community, and its future looked bright. Then, in 1914, Colonel Allensworth was killed in a tragic accident, and about the same time, the critical water supply began to give out. During the 1920s and 30s, the town began to lose population and literally began to disintegrate. In fact, most of the town had disappeared by 1976, when the site was declared a state historic park as a monument to its black pioneers. Today, Allensworth is in the process of being restored. Several of the original buildings look like they once did, and more is to come. We pulled into Allensworth for what they call the old-time Jubilee, which is an event held every year to celebrate what the town is all about. A fun day, a family day, a day set aside to honor those early black pioneers who had such big dreams. Now, who have you got here with you?
I have my little nephew here, Ijoma Onanuju.
Now, why did you bring him with you today to Allensworth?
Well, I wanted him to experience the black experience, what his forefathers has done here in California. I thought it'd be a great opportunity for him to see black history live.
What do you think about this day?
This is fantastic. We came last year.
Oh, so this is your second year?
Right. We never heard of it. We've been in California close to 50 years. We're down by Vallejo. And we never heard of Colonel Allensworth. I think it's a fantastic story.
What do you think can be gained by people knowing about this place?
Black pride. Give the children something to be proud about. Because if you can do it being a slave, coming from being a slave, you can do it now. You can do it. He did it.
Now, what group is this over here?
This is the Mahogany Cowgirls of Southern California.
Now, is this your first year to be up here at Allensworth?
As a group, yes, but our club president, Sherry Jobert, is involved with the restoration of Allensworth.
Well, now, did they actually have cowgirls in Allensworth back when it was operating?
I'm not.
She knows? This is the head woman over here. She knows. At least she acts like she knows.
Did they have cowgirls in Allensworth?
Well, they actually had women that worked outside with the men and rode horses and things like that. Yes, they did.
So this is all historically correct.
Right, exactly.
Now, what are you ladies looking at here?
We're looking at a state historical park here for the Hensman's General Store.
So this was the general store.
Yes, it was.
That's all you know about it.
We have not had a chance to go in. We've just arrived here.
Well, let's go.
Oh,
let's go
okay.
walk over. Is this the first time you've been to Allensworth?
Yes, it is. The very first time.
First time we even heard of it.
Really?
Yes. A flyer was at our school, and I took it out of my box and looked at it and decided I would come and see what it was all about. And a group of us came up by bus from Los Angeles.
What do you think about this place?
I am astounded. It's just to know that this much history is so close to us that we had no idea that it was here.
Yeah. Can we see in the store? Is it unlocked?
It seems like it's locked.
It's locked, but we can look in the window.
Yes.
They've kind of.
Oh, this is really great inside. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I like the stove. That's it.
We had one like that back in my house.
Now, we're not going to tell everybody what we saw through the windows because we want people to come see it for themselves, don't we?
That's absolutely
Yes,
true.
we do. They not only what they see through the windows, but just to be here and feel the atmosphere, and the people that are here also. They're here because they want to know more about their.
What do you mean the
heritage.
atmosphere?
The tranquil atmosphere, the peacefulness that's here, the warmth. People want to know about what happened in history, and history is rediscovering itself. And we are just pleased to be here.
Now, what's going on here at the train tracks?
Today we're initiating an Amtrak special service stop here at Allensworth. It's the first time train service has been available at Allensworth in about 70 years.
70 years?
70 years, yeah. Train service was stopped here back in the 20s. So we built the railroad platform in the last 6 months, and Amtrak's agreed to have a special service stop here for groups of 15 people or more can make arrangements through Amtrak to stop and get off the train, visit the park, spend about 4 hours, and catch a return train back to their destination.
This is the little stop right over here.
The platform, that's right, the passenger loading platform.
And the train's getting ready to come down and let some very special people on.
Right, we have the Statewide Black Advisory Council, the Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation, and some other special folks.
A lot of VIPs.
VIPs today coming in for the first stop.
Now, what's the big occasion here?
This is my mother, and she was a native of Allensworth. She's a pioneer, and she was born here in 1908, and she went to school here.
And how does it make you feel seeing all of this?
Beautiful, proud. It's lovely. It's lovely. Wish it could be more often.
Congratulations.
Thank you
welcome
very much.
back to Allensworth.
Welcome back. I was born here.
You were born here.
That's right, and the school started in my grandparents' home.
So how does all of this make you feel coming back today?
This is a real historic occasion because the lumber that was brought to build my grandparents' home, where the school started, came on the train.
Came on the train.
This is another also pioneer of Allensworth. This is my mother's sister.
So you lived here too?
Oh yes, I started school here.
Yeah,
well, this is certainly a big occasion right here.
It's beautiful.
I was the school's first and only first grader when the school started.
Really? Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Everybody, look at this. This just goes on and on. What's going on?
This is Allensworth's granddaughter.
Oh, so you're the real VIP here today.
Yes.
Right.
How does all of this make you feel coming back on the train?
It's exciting. It really is. It's just wonderful.
This is something that we learned about Colonel Allensworth from the time he was born until he then became into the Army. We seen a flag, which was his original troop flag. We seen his original uniform. This is something that we don't get out of the history books. I don't care how far you go up through college, you don't get it. And it's just something that is going to live with us.
I think it's absolutely special. I mean, first of all, it's the only state historic park that interprets African American history in the United States of America. I mean, and you think about it for a minute. We have 275 state parks, 5 million acres, and this is the only park that interprets African American history. And it is very special, and it is significant, and I think a very important story is told here.
Now, you're a docent here. What does that mean?
Well, I was one of the guides at the schoolhouse explaining about the school.
Wait a minute, let's just walk right over here.
I had on my outfit earlier.
This is the school. Let's turn right around this way, Louie, and we'll get a shot of the school. Tell us a little bit about the school and the importance that it played in this community.
This was the second school, and it's a two-room schoolhouse built in 1912. It operated up until 1968. It had students from first grade to 8th grade, and if they're just really encouraged academic excellence, community pride, entrepreneurship, self-determination,
so
patriotism.
Education was very important.
Very important. Colonel Allensworth was, when Colonel Allensworth first learned to read, when he was in the military, before he got to the military, he made it a mission to teach, to instruct other soldiers. His mission was like each one teach one, and he held that standard up, and then he motivated other people to achieve, and that's what this community is about. It's about pride, achievement, and being independent and self-determination.
Well, it's kind of important that today one of the first buildings restored is the schoolhouse. That's no accident, is it?
No, it's not, because that was the benchmark of the community was education and encouraging young people to get a good education. So the community was grounded in education.
My first visit to this park was October of last year, and I spent the night here, and as the sun went down in the campground, I stood out there, and you can feel the character of the town, late in the day especially. And I could just feel this is a special place.
What do you mean, the character of the town?
Now, the character, when I say a special place, that people lived here and had babies here and prospered here and whatnot. A lot of my visitors share the same feeling, and people will say, you know, I can feel that this is a special place.
What do you think it was like here back then?
I think that it was a spirit of adventure, a spirit of accomplishment and purpose. Mm-hmm. And they were making a new life for themselves.
Do you think it was rough back then, hard?
Oh yes, I think it was very difficult, and they were really pioneers. And for them to get this old city started was really a great endeavor. And I'm very proud of them.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling being here. I mean, because the spirit is still here. And I think that's what's so important to us, and that's what made us enjoy it so much today.
Do you think the Colonel would be proud of what was happening here today?
I think Colonel would be very proud and somewhat surprised, because what this town was originally set up for was to be an educational center. It was kind of envisioned as being something where a black person came out of slavery, could come, learn to read and write, and then go out in the mainstream of society and function effectively. And as an educational tool, I can look around today and see that it's working right now, probably much more so, having a greater effect than it would have ever had if it had not been disturbed at all. This town, to the first pioneers that got here, a lot of people, they come here now and they say, wow, what a desolate, barren, nothing place to do anything. But the first pioneers that came in, Colonel Allensworth and his associates, this to them looked like the promised land. What they were looking for was isolation. They knew that it was absolutely necessary to get away, get some quiet. They knew they had to get quiet for a while and do some very, very serious study, some very, very serious thinking. This was the promised land to them.
Now, just getting to our next town was an adventure. A windy Highway 178, which cuts through the southern tip of the High Sierra in Kern County. We're talking about rugged but beautiful terrain. That's the Kern River down there beside the road. And then suddenly we were out of the mountains, and there was Lake Isabella on the right. And then in just a couple of more miles, we had reached our destination, the small town of Kernville, nestled in the Kern River Valley. But this is where the plot thickens, because what we're looking at now is New Kernville. In fact, this town wasn't even here until the early 1950s. As we pulled into New Kernville, a delegation of local residents were waiting for us, not only to take us on a tour of New Kernville, but to take us to old Kernville as well. That's right, there's a new and an old Kernville, although old Kernville doesn't even exist anymore. Now, I know this sounds a little confusing, but to get to old Kernville, which doesn't exist anymore, we got back in the car and drove 4 miles back down the highway to Lake Isabella, turned down a dusty road, and made our way through a huge grove of willows. We had arrived at old Kernville. Founded back in the 1850s and originally known as Whiskey Flats, Kernville was a thriving little community of several hundred people. There were nice houses there. A Brown General Store was there, along with the Mountain Inn Hotel. The town was right on the river and had wide, tree-lined streets. It was a perfect place to live. The town even had its own permanent movie set, called Movie Town, and over 100 movies were filmed there over the years. It was famous. And then in the late 1940s, the government decided to build a dam and create present-day Lake Isabella. Only problem was the lake covered up the town, which meant the whole town, if it wanted to stay dry, had to move. People, pets, buildings, and all. Well, that's exactly what they did, though, moving over 35 structures from the old town to the site of the brand new town down the road. That was over 40 years ago. But today's drought conditions have caused the lake level to drop way down, and the site of old Kernville, which has been covered for over 40 years, has now reappeared, which gave some locals who used to live there the opportunity to visit the old town site once again and reminisce.
I went to school in this building, Harvey and I.
So this is the schoolhouse. Right. Let's take a look at the old, or what's left of the old schoolhouse. They left the foundation. Why did they leave the foundation?
I don't know.
Look, here
I have
are the
any
steps.
idea. Yeah.
Look at this.
Harvey's picture is on these steps, and Clint's, I imagine, too. So this brings back a lot of memories to them. I didn't go to school here. My mother-in-law taught here, and my wife went to school here.
Who went to school here?
I did, and I remember real well the year they built it. They was putting up the fence along the perimeter here, and Clint here. We were out playing ball one day, and they just had the railings up, pipe railings.
He's telling stories out of school, but I'll let him go ahead with it.
I still got the piece of pipe, but anyway, he was running after a ball, and he hit his head on that piece of pipe, and it knocked him colder than a wedge. And the mark is still on the pipe. I think we got it in a museum somewhere.
They claimed I bent a 3/4 inch pipe. I haven't been the same since.
Well, let's walk up. Now, you went to school here, the two of you. Mm-hmm. Come on, let's walk back up into the school again. Now, this is history in the making right here. Right back up into the steps of the old schoolhouse.
Okay, we can kind of give you an idea of how it was in those days. This was the entry hall. The principal's office was here. The library was here. And then there was 2 rooms at this long angle with a stage at the end with folding doors between. The first 4 grades were in the south end. The upper grades were in the north end.
Boy, you remember everything about this.
Well, I spent 8 years of my life here.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, the best thing about it, that was the restrooms. That was new for Kernville, because on the old school, which was just out there in the field just a little ways from here, they had outhouses. So coming and having the restrooms with the running water and the whole works was really something for us old country boys.
Flush toilets.
Flush toilets.
Great.
Well, let's move on now that we've found out about the restrooms. Let's go on and see what else is here.
Yeah, we're coming up to the foundation for the Methodist Church. This building was built in 1898. The Kern River Circuit of the Methodist Church started in 1870, and my great-grandfather was a recording steward, but they didn't get a church built until 1898.
So this church sat, well, you can see the old foundations here.
Right.
Now, how hard was it? Did they move the church?
Yes, I have a picture of just newspaper clipping of the church being raised up and moved up to.
So you mean they took a building this this big?
Yeah.
And moved it?
Basically, it was about probably 30 feet, 40 feet wide, and maybe 50 feet long. That was the main sanctuary, and that's what they moved. And so the other buildings were torn down.
Now, was this all residential right in here?
Yes, it was. It's right along the edge of the river. That was really a beautiful spot. Right across the river was the campground and the beach where all the children met all summer. You went swimming there a lot, I believe, Clint, probably.
Yeah, the swimming hole.
Come on, wait a minute. Where's the swimming hole?
The old swimming hole was located right along about where that levee goes out now.
Uh-huh.
And then there was
as far as swimming holes go, was it a pretty good one?
There was yes, very good. We had a wooden diving board, and we used to like to sneak down at night and skinny dip.
What is this? This looks like part of a. What is that?
That's probably what they used to fasten on to prisoners if they got.
No. What is that? Really?
This is just part of the. I think this is the foundation, remnants of the foundation of the old jail.
Yeah, cause see, here's a.
And,
some metal down in
some
there.
More of it here.
So this was the old jail, and you were telling me there was an old bridge around here.
Yes, it just a little farther down, this side of where the people are fishing, went across, and it came out across over where the green trees are over there. That's now Tammy's Landing.
Was it a big bridge?
It wasn't
a wooden bridge, just 2-lane with wooden planks and wooden pilings, and every 2 or 3 years it would the water would get a little too high, and we'd have to blast the logs from around the pilings, and sometimes we get too big a charge in and the bridge would go out.
You'd blow up your own bridge.
Yes.
We're going west on Nellie Dent Street. It was the one that crossed the river. And
looks to me like we're going into a jungle in here.
It really is now.
Look at this.
We're just hoping that there would be some of the foundations showing from the James home. Wouldn't this about be where?
This would be the street that my dad had his market on. Okay. It would be here on the left.
This would be your dad's market?
Right here, yes. On the right side of the street was a telephone office building. On down was a liquor store. And then there was a post office. Beyond that was a dance hall, Jim Beckles dance hall.
You had a dance hall here?
You bet, and it was a wild one on Saturday nights. And then a little bit further down the street on the left was the old Mountain Inn Hotel. And that ran into the main street. And the west end of Nellie Dent was Rubberneck Alley. Everybody sat in there when they were kids and watched everything that went on. And
so this was your typical small town where everybody knew everybody else's business.
We certainly did.
What are you nodding for when I said that?
Oh, you hit the nail right on the head.
What are you laughing about?
Well, that's about right. Everybody knew everybody else's business. Yeah. Our telephone office, they had a telephone operator there and a switchboard. You'd call some number and she'd plug it in from the exchange to whoever you wanted to call, and so that is the way
you don't think anybody ever listened in to other people's phone conversations?
Oh no, they wouldn't do that.
Yes, they did.
What?
Yeah, when we were kids, well, we'd hear the phone ring and we'd go listen. All over the whole valley, you could hear all going on.
We may be getting into a subject here that we need to just let dead dogs lie, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
This is really something. Really, I mean, this is... I don't think I've ever walked through an old town like this before.
Well, this is truly a ghost town. There's nothing to see, really.
Well, after the tour of the site of Old Kernville, we spent the afternoon touring New Kernville, with the locals proudly pointing out all the old buildings that had been moved so many years ago to avoid being flooded by the dam. There was the old telephone office, now a residence. Some wonderful old wooden houses. The old post office, now a restaurant. and the old Methodist church, which is still a Methodist church. So it looks like Lake Isabella didn't get the old town after all, because many of its citizens and many of its buildings are doing just fine these days, 4 miles down the road in New Kernville.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our visit to Allensworth and Kernville, two of our state's most historic and interesting towns. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching and invite you to tune in again next time as we all continue our search together for California's gold. Now, as we end this particular episode, I would also advise you to put on your life preservers, because we still have one more adventure left, and it's a wet one.
Now, the Kern River Valley just might be Southern California's best-kept secret. It's surrounded by Sequoia National Forest with over 1 million acres of unspoiled beauty. And if you like outdoor adventure, you can choose fishing or boating on Lake Isabella, kayaking on the Kern River, mountain biking through some of the most rugged and beautiful terrain you can imagine, or you can even climb rocks if you want to. And all that's in addition to camping, hiking, and skiing. But I chose to end my visit to the area by spending the afternoon rafting the whitewater of the Kern River, which has to be one of life's great thrills.
Now, we're going to be traveling in a two-man boat, right?
Yeah, well, I came up with these about 8 or 9 years ago. They're called splash yaks. Splash yaks. We had to think of a fun name. We want to get people in them because they look kind of too tipsy to start with. But once you're in there, once you snuggle your hind end in the bottom, they are stable and you can bullet right on down the river.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, all you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.